an IIM, which means that it is formed by an act of parliament and it's an institution of national importance. It's the 5th best B school in the country. What is the kind of eligibility that you need to have? What is the kind of weightage that you have for the CAT score? Now, what is the minimum cutoff of CAT percentile in 2025? Now, what is the number of seats that they have? Hi students, Namaste, welcome to MBA 360. If you're wanting to study or pursue MBA at IIM Lucknow, this is the most important video for you. What we're going to discuss is the selection process, the eligibility criteria, the weightages that you have for each of the parameters that you have, the cutoffs and the number of seats that you have. So all these things we're going to discuss here. Before I go further, please, if you're an MBA aspirant wanting to pursue MBA, please subscribe to MBA 360 because we're going to keep you informed, alerted and advised on everything that's happening in the MBA scenario so that you can get into the best college possible. Moving further about IIM Lucknow. Now coming to IIM Lucknow, it is established in 1984, so pretty old institution. You know, we're talking about 40 years plus kind of a service to a country. It's an IIM, which means that it is formed by an act of parliament and it's an institution of national importance, which is what all IIMs and IITs are, including AIIMS. It's spread over 200 acres. It's the 5th best B school in the country, and that's a very, very good pedigree to deal with. 5th best B school in the country. The total student that it has is 1,215. So it's slightly higher in terms of the kind of intake it has, of which boys are about 70% and girls are about 30%. And about 89% of the students come from outside the state, which is what happens to a very good B school because students from all over the country want to study in a good B school. Now, what is the kind of eligibility that you need to have? You need to be a graduate of which is a degree of at least 3 years and more. So 3, 4, 5, whatever it is, because STEM students are 4 years and so, those kind of things. But you need to be a graduate with 50% marks. That is what your eligibility criteria is. If you're an SC, ST and PW, it's 45% marks, right? Now, what is the kind of weightage that you have for the CAT score? The weightage for the CAT score is only 30% here. So the weightage for the CAT score is only 30%. The written ability test is 10%. Personal interview is 40%. So between these two, it is 50%. If you now notice this, it is 50%, right? And then diversity factor is 5%. Academics is 10%, which is the marks that you get in class 10th, 12th and graduation. And the work experience has 5%. So in all, it's about 100%. But remember, CAT score is 30%. And once you get in, 50% is the weightage for personal interview and written ability test. Now, what is the minimum cutoff of CAT percentile in 2025, which is what is important for you? Now, this is a minimum. It doesn't mean that you will get it. It's at least so many marks you need to have to even get a call from them. That's for overall percentile is 90 percentile for general. For OBC it's 75 percentile, EWS is 75 percentile, SC is 70 percentile, ST is 65 percentile and PWD is 60 percentile. You also have sectional cutoffs. So for example, typically it's 5% lesser than what you have as a overall, which means that 85 percentile is for any of these 3 subjects and so on and so forth. You will typically have that so that even if you fall short in something, you will be able to cover up in any other subject to get the overall percentile of 90 percentile. Right? So that is what it is. Look at the overall percentile and you can download this form if you need to be. Now, what is the number of seats that they have? The general seat that you have is 206, right? OBC is 156, EWS is 57, SC is 86, ST is 43, PWD is 28. Overall, you have 576 in IIM Lucknow. As I told you, IIM Lucknow has very high intake, which is what you can see from here. And what is the last year, what was the category wise cutoff? I told you earlier that 90% is the minimum, but it doesn't mean that you might get it. Last year in 24-26 batch, not 25-27, a year before, 92.48 was the minimum score that you needed to have to even get a call on GDPI. 90% is the minimum, but 92.48 is what they exercise because they got enough number of candidates at 92.48 to actually get as many students that they wanted because there is typically a ratio that they follow and that is what happened here. For EWS it was 88.18. For OBC it was 83.74, for SC it was 67.36, ST it was 62.51 and PWD it was 61.29. So though it was 90% was the cutoff, we actually got 92.48, right? And I keep saying, if you want to keep yourself informed on everything that is happening on B schools, MBA and MBA admissions, please subscribe to MBA 360. And if you want to ask any question, write to us here and I'll be more than happy to respond to that as I move along. Thank you so much. Namaste.